interest rates now are super crazy.
Like 6-7%. Yeah.
7%. Were you ever in the military?
No.
Okay, so like military, the VA, they give you like a little bit less percentage. So like,
yeah.
So like right now for the VA, it's like 6 point something.
Yeah.
But like regular is like 7 point something. But it's still a lot, dude.
Yeah.
6% is a lot.
Are you military?
Prior, yeah.
Yeah.
So the VA helps me buy a house, but it's still crazy.
You retired military?
No, I'm disabled.
Okay.
I got out. I had an airborne accident, and then I kind of got out and stuff like that. So I did like almost 7 years.
Nice.
So just didn't want to do no more.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome to my podcast, man. Like I said, it's called Road to Standup. So it's just mostly just guys that are new, under like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I just like to interview guys who just like that pick their mind and find out like how you started, where do you get your inspiration from, and like what drove you here to get to this point to like doing comedy, because everybody's road is different, right? So your name, start with your name, and how long you been doing comedy.
Yeah, so that's always a tough question, right? How long have you been? So my comedy journey, my name's Joel Beasley. My comedy journey was, about 7 years ago, I took a comedy class at McCurdy's Comedy in Sarasota, Florida.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like, I wrote jokes, and then I did the showcase that all the graduating students did, and there was like 200 people there. And it was awesome. It went well. They recorded it. And I was like, this is what I'm doing with my life. And then within like 2 weeks, my mom got cancer, my wife got pregnant, and my business took off. Like started doing really well in computer stuff.
Yeah.
And nerd stuff, right? And so I was like, all right, dealing with my mom's and then my wife being pregnant and all this stuff. I was like, look, I just am going to take the responsible path and I'm just going to focus on the business,
Interesting.
And so I didn't. So I just stopped. I did like one show and then I stopped. And then fast forward, the business has been 7 years since then, 7 or 8 years. The business was doing well. I sold the business. About a year ago, I was like, I want to do comedy again. Like I really want to do it. My wife, she saw me like checking out mentally. She's like, you're getting depressed. This is weird. This is not like you. Because I was real excited when I was building the business.
Yeah.
But then once the business got like going, I had like too much free time, and I was like, this is
I get that.
It's too much free time. So she's like, you need to go out and like take the path you didn't take. So that was last year. So I went out and did another comedy class at Third Coast. So it was like 6 weeks. Then I did 5 or 6 open mics, and I was like, all right, cool, I love this, but I still had my business, and it turns out like I couldn't do both of those things at the same time.
Of course.
So I said, all right, well, I'm going to stop going out and I'm going to work on selling my business. So it took me 1 full year to get the business sold. I sold the business in like December.
Mm-hmm.
So like 2 months ago or so. And then I was like, I'm going to get it sold and then I'm going to go do it full time. So I was really excited last year, like trying to get this done.
Yeah.
Got it done. And I've been out now since December. I've been out, I think last night was 16 or 17 times. Track it in my comedy tracker, which is fancy word for a spreadsheet. But yeah, so that's my journey. That's how I ended up here, and then I met you at Joker's open mic. And
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You track I feel like I'm not doing enough. You make me feel like I'm not working hard enough. Like guys like you. When I meet guys like you, like I track all my stuff or whatever. It's like, fuck, man, I don't work hard enough.
Yeah.
And like I track my jokes and I track like how many times I go on stage and stuff like that. Like not go on stage, but like how many videos I take, or I have this many videos, I'm gonna look back at them. But like actually tracking how many times I've been on stage, it's pretty wild. Because then like, hey, I'm slacking off, or I need to do more and stuff like that. Do you feel like it's more of like how many times you get on stage, or it's kind of like just the quality of mics you go to? Because everybody has their own opinion, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know much, right? Like I know as much as someone with 16 to 20 appearances in my entire life, right? I guess what I've learned from there, when I'm doing the comedy tracker,
mm-hmm.
what I do is I say, okay, here's the date, here's the location, here's how many people were in the audience, here's a video link to the video recording, and then I watch back the video recording, and then I have a little notes column right across. And so I do that each time, and then I start to notice these patterns in these notes. And one of the patterns that I noticed in the notes is that whenever I go to bars where the people aren't there to see comedy, the comedy's kind of happening in the corner. That's a really poor place to test out material.
Yeah, I can agree with you.
Yeah.
Could agree.
So then when we have so many open mics. I mean, there's probably 10 open mics a week in Nashville. And so I was like, how do I prioritize which ones I go to? And so you've got the ones that are really easy to get up at, but typically lower audience, right? Or unengaged audience. Then you've got the really popular ones like the Lab, Nashville. It's like really hard to get up at.
Yeah.
But it's got the people are actually there to see a comedy show.
Yeah.
Or like Monday at Third Coast, like there to see comedy.
Yeah.
You know, so those are harder to get up at. And so far, what I've learned, again, this is like 2 months, is that the best thing to do is just post your content, support other comedians, and then show up.
Yeah.
You know, and just have conversations with people, and eventually you run into like the right people. And if they see you around a bunch and they see you trying and signing up a bunch, they typically will give you a shot.
Yeah. So I've learned through my experience that if you have like a group of people you go with everywhere, like try to get like a clique, right? Or like because most guys everywhere in our area, it's they have like a group of people that kind of hang out with all the time. And I feel like if you get a group of guys and you go everywhere, it's easier to go these mics, right? Because then one person can, because it's hard, because I live up here and driving to Nashville, I don't know how far you live from Nashville. It's an hour.
An hour and
you
10,
know?
Yeah.
So driving there by yourself, it sucks. You know, sometimes you get unmotivated, like, you know what, I don't want to go to this mic today. I'll go for the next one, you know? But you have a group of guys that are always pushing you, you know, you end up going. But the problem is you end up going there and like it's hard to join your group with other groups that are there, you know, because you already have your group. So I feel like Nashville's a little bit political and stuff like that. I think it's everywhere a little bit political, but it's definitely a hard place if you're going to like the good mics, like the ones like Third Coast or Lab, because it's like you're not going to get on stage unless like you know somebody or you're really lucky, you know. And I find that very difficult. And you were telling me you got on there twice, which is crazy because I've never met somebody like in our class, right? Like we're still like in the first year or two of doing comedy full time. That's gone up there. All the guys that I know have gone up there like already like 5 years in, you know.
Yeah, the way I did it was I asked around and I was like, who books this? And then what happened was I got booked for a feature at Joker's. And then I was like, oh crap, like I need practice before my feature at Joker's.
Yeah.
So I went into Zany's, like not during a show time. I just went, it was like a little bit before. I went into Zany's and I was like, hey, who's the person who books here? I just got booked at Joker's and I need like some practice. You know, so that goes well at Joker's, and they only have shows once a week or whatever their interval is. I needed practice, and they're like, "All right, well, we'll put you up at the open mic. Like, you're not coming up on Zany's stage, but we'll
of course,
put you up on the open mic." And then they did, and they put me at the last spot at 11 p.m. Like, you know, like hazing the new guy, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. I was so grateful for any time at all, and so I went and I did it, and then. The next time I came and then they put me at like spot 12. And then that was it. I've only been up twice at the Lab because I've been gone for like a week or two for a vacation. But it was nice. And then the third time I didn't get on because there were, you know, when the popular comedians are in town, they just bump.
Yeah.
Which is fine because like I find it actually, when I was trying to figure out how to spend my time, I actually think it's a better use of my time to go watch professionals and like pay for a show at Zany's than it is to go to like a bar open mic.
Yeah, it's rough. People understand that sometimes the bar scene it's rough because most people are there like 80% of the time they're not there to watch jokes. They're just there to drink or watch a football game or watch sports. And you're already trying to talk to them, and some guys just like, I don't want to hear this right now, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's one that I still do it on Tuesday nights. It's called Bobby's Island Hour. It's a good mic, but the problem is sometimes when they have because they have like open music before, right? And it ends at 10 and then the mic starts. Most people that stay around are just people that just want to listen to the music, you know? And then you start going with your open mic and they're like, you know, I don't want to hear this shit, you know? So it's like rough trying to see if jokes actually work. And that's the worst part, is like trying to see if a joke works with people that don't want to hear it. Because then you think like, oh, it didn't hit, and you never use it again. But it really was a good joke, you know? And it's happened to me quite a few times. That's why I like Joker's, because like Joker's, I think the only club we actually have here in Clarksville that will actually let you go up there and say whatever you want, clean or dirty, and you'll see if it works or not. Even with small crowd like last night,
Yeah.
you still what works and what doesn't, because people are there.
I love that black girl. She was audibly like shouting out her internal dialogue.
Yeah. So she's supposed to be coming onto this podcast. I think next week or the week after.
Oh, she's a comedian?
Yeah, no, she's not a comedian, but I've been trying to convince her to do comedy.
Yeah,
because she's freaking hilarious, man. And she's like, no, I don't want to do comedy. I'm like, but you're hilarious. Like, you don't understand. Like, take the opportunity to go up there because you're funny. Like, just do who you are, Mm-hmm. And she's so crazy. She's a crazy person. She's been to, I think, one of my shows, and she just still shouts on the audience, and it makes things so much funnier. I have a nickname for her. I call her Plankton. Yeah. She looks like Plankton from SpongeBob. So, but yeah, that's Tim Tim's sister apparently. Okay. I thought it was Tim Tim's wife. Yeah. Because they always come together, but apparently it's his sister. But she's hilarious. So, yeah.
Hey, you made a comment earlier about the cliques showing up and it's hard to get into the other groups.
Yeah.
So I learned this from business networking.
Yeah.
So there's like an entire area of knowledge and books that people write about how to network at business events. And it's basically just networking in a crowd.
Yeah.
Right. And so they describe different strategies, like watching the way people's feet are pointed, like when they're standing in a circle.
Really?
Yeah. So you can tell if the circle's open for newcomers based off of if their feet are like if they're in a perfect circle where all their toes are pointed towards each other, they're in a private huddle. But if one person is like, you'll start to see it when you look for it. One person has body language that's out, it means the group is open for a new person to join.
Interesting.
Yeah, when I heard that, I tried it out. I learned this like 7 or 8 years ago. And I tried it out like, business conferences and stuff. And every single time it worked. And I was like, whoa, just the plate. I think I saw like on a TED Talk or something.
I'm going to clip this. That little portion you just said, that's crazy. Yeah. I never knew that. That's wild.
So if you look up, like if you go learn how to network in business, that's what comedy's business.
Yeah, of course.
So those skills are applicable because like I don't have one huddle group. I go and try to, I call it the mayor strategy. I heard like this FBI agent talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I just want to go and learn about the different groups. So I go and I like introduce myself to the different groups. I figure, all right, those are the cool kids. Those are the nerds.
Yeah.
Like these are the clean guys. These are the dirty guys. And like, I don't take like a stance because to be honest with you, like I don't have like a strong stance for what should be. I only have a strong stance for what I'm going to be doing for my character.
Yeah.
Like for like I don't like act like character, but like who you embellish different aspects of yourself. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to know what's right for me, but everyone else, we're just at like this big party of comedy and I'm just going to go see, there's a crazy dude over there that plays a guitar, in his set. Yeah. There's a dude that does that. There's a girl that does so-and-so. And you just get to know all the people and they're all really interesting, like all different types of people. And so I just appreciate them for being their own weird selves. And then I try to get to know all the groups.
Yeah. So that's why initially I started the podcast is try to get I want to. I like that. I'm a kind of a. I want to like everybody, right? I have no problem just like talking to everybody. Yeah. I have no anger towards anybody. I'm not jealous of anybody, right? I like all the comedy, right? There's comedy I like. Some I enjoy, some I don't. But I started this podcast because I want to be able to talk to all the comics that we have around in Nashville and to Clarksville. Because I feel like we should all, like I said last night, there's no competition in comedy. We should all be networking, all helping each other out, right? Yeah. Like if you're ready 5 years in and you're doing well, like if a guy asks you questions, don't be a douche. Like, give him an answer, give him some advice. Hey, this is how you get here, or you could do this. Because it's like, I've seen some people, and I'm not going to say names, but I've seen people are like, they don't want to talk to you because, I'm 3 or 4 years in, I already have a couple of shows on my belt. You're peasants. And it's like this.
They've got different underlying issues.
Yeah, there's a reason to be like that. It's like, I'm not trying to take your crowd, man. And even if I take your crowd, they're going to see me or see you. It's not going to matter. But I started a podcast to network with everybody, to talk to everybody, because I feel like everybody should be able to help each other some way, somehow, We're all trying to do the same thing, right? We're trying to do comedy. So why not all of us help each other?
Is that way in business too? Like, I would imagine, when I was new in business, I had imagined that, like, like you got competitors.
Yeah.
Like stay away or like learn their secret. Like, they're these like, turns out they're like the largest investors of helping new businesses get started in their space because they understand the space. If I go to I had a production company, I go to a larger production company, they understand production. And then they're like, oh, you're doing that model? That's a good model. Here's some money. that type of thing. They are surprisingly inclined to help you. Now, there's always douchebags.
Of course.
There's always the 20%. But man, if you start knocking on doors and stuff, people are usually like, "Oh man, you're like me. You're trying to make this happen too."
Yeah.
Like, and then they'll share with you like what
Will help them in the
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm gonna take that advice you said about the hole in the circle. That's crazy. I didn't know that. And I'm gonna try this because tonight I'm not gonna go to. I was gonna go to open mic, Holistic Connection, but apparently improv's gonna be really good tonight.
Okay.
So cause they said last week was like 40, 50 people in the crowd apparently.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll try it tonight because they're always trying to get me to go there.
Did you stay last night for the improv?
No, they did.
Oh, dude! All right, so
did I miss it? What happened?
So get this. So you said goodbye to me, right?
Yeah, I had to go. Kids. Yeah.
I get it, right? And so you say goodbye, and then I said, okay. I wrapped up. I grabbed my notebook, and I was walking out, and I heard who's the host guy?
Max.
I heard Max like wrapping up and like telling everybody, okay, end the show, yada yada yada. Then like 8-10 people walk in.
What?
Yeah, like one girl with her baby, holding her like 3-month-old baby, right? So they walk in and they sit down and they start ordering stuff, and Max is like, and I walked into the parking, so I'm like halfway to my car, right? And I say, like, something in the back of my mind is like, I want to see how Max handles this. So I'm a host, right?
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to see how he handles this.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens. And I walked back in, and Max and his like cousin or something like that, who's there with the beard, they're like, we're going to do some improv. I'm like, Joel, because they saw me in the back. They're like, come on up here.
Oh, my
God.
It
was like me, Skylo.
Yeah. Skylo. I like Skylo,
Yeah, me, Skylo, that last girl that went, and then Max and Max's cousin. And we did 30 minutes of improv.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did it go well?
I've done it before. I had no idea what we were doing. But I was like, there's 10 people. Like, I'm not that embarrassed. Like, yeah. It's like, I'll just go give it a shot. Be my first time. And we went for like 30 minutes. And then they were like, yeah, you guys should come back like tomorrow. And I said, okay. So I was going to see if I could hit up Grandpa's bar at like 6 and see if I can make it back by 8.
Yeah, if you can talk to the host there and be like, hey, listen, can I get on quick? So I got a show, I got to do whatever.
Yeah.
They probably let you go on first or second. These people are cool. When you go to Grandpa's bar, they're cool people. The host, at least, the host that I saw. So you probably get on there. But like I said, you might do really well there, because your jokes. Like I was trying to tell like the people that watch this podcast too, like there's like you're very clean with your comedy, right? And like I'm more of a lot of dirty. And I was explaining to people the other day that doing clean comedy is so more difficult. Yeah, except that sounds weird. So it's difficult, right?
It's difficult,
Sorry, I don't know how to speak English very good, but so difficult compared to like doing dirty comedy because like you really have to like take the joke and like not use curse words, not use anything crazy, and try to make it clever so where it sounds dirty in the back of your mind, but it's coming out clean.
Yeah.
And I wanted to explain like what's your writing process when you're like writing. You start off dirty and clean it up, or just kind of comes out clean like that?
No, when I start writing, stuff is like dirtier.
Yeah.
Depending on the day, it is, or it's darker. That's what I notice. My thing is like I'll typically go dark. Like I'm a really happy person, so it's kind of like weird for me.
Yeah.
But I'm like it'll go dark, and then I'll like try to like pull it back, or I'll think it's funny, and I'll share it with my wife, and she'll be like, "That's dark," and I'm like, "Oh no," like the kids with the car thing, And so like I don't know. My routine is that I get up and I go on the treadmill like first thing in the morning, and I walk for like 30 minutes to an hour, and I start typically by practicing like my existing stuff. Like I'll look at the note and then put it down and hit record, and then just freestyle as much as I can, imagine what would happen and all of that. And then usually some like new stuff just pops up.
So you record yourself, like you're like a video record?
Yeah, well, I audio record on the treadmill
while you're just talking.
While I'm walking, yeah. And I have it transcribed. There's like an app that transcribes the recordings, and it's called Noted is the app that I use. But now actually I don't even need that app anymore because the default iPhone Notes now transcribes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's really good, like the voice memo feature.
Oh, okay, yeah. My phone does as Android, but it does that. Yeah, you go on Notes and you press the record. Yeah, it just types it for you as you're
that's
talking.
new for Apple.
Really?
No. It like you hit record to make a voice memo, and then there's like a tab now on Apple where it like shows you the transcript.
Yeah, well, but
Yeah.
basically my phone does. Just press record on the notes section, and it just starts writing as you're talking. It just start writing everything out. The weird thing is that when you say curse words, it writes dots instead of whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was new to iPhone. But yeah, so you do that, and you kind of just write, and then when you look at it back, you try to tone it down.
Like an 80% is not great. Like, you know, that's why I say the volume of writing, I think, is where you really got to like for me, like it reminds me of all my analogies are like related to business. Like you would imagine some people would send like 100 emails a day or something, and then they're like, oh, that business doesn't work because I'm not getting a response. Like, well, maybe you just need to be sending 10,000 emails a day.
Yeah. 'Cause at least one would get.
Yeah. And so, you know, I learned that. So when I started my business, I started at like 100 emails a day. I ended up at like 1 million emails a month, you know, like data and automation, you know, just to end up getting like 20 sales, right? But those 20 sales powered the company, right? So like that, the useful takeaway from that experience is that the volume is always 10 times more than you would imagine. So it's like, if you think you need to write for 10 minutes a day, you probably need to write for 100 minutes a day. And whatever you think you should be doing, you should probably be doing 10 times more of it.
Yeah. This is what I like talking to people that are doing more than me, because then it just motivates me to do more, right?
Yeah.
I have this concept thinking that when people are doing better than you, like you just motivate, because I work mostly off competition. I've been like a competitor all my life, you know, sports and everything. And I feel like I do the best when I have to compete against somebody, right? When you're by yourself, it's kind of like, you kind of like set yourself like, I feel like I did enough, you know? But when you meet people like you or people like John Buzo, you know who John Buzo is?
No.
The fat Mexican dude that I'm always with?
No.
Yeah, well, I'm always with him. He's a Mexican dude, and he's always writing. He's always trying to get better. And like hanging out with him makes me want to write more, do stuff. Because I used to just like, when I first started, I used to just like write, you know, once a week or like on a Saturday, I'll write a little bit and then just kind of leave it alone. But now every day, like whenever I think something, I'll write it down. And like during the end of the week, I'll go through all of it, try to make a joke, try to make a punchline.
And I do that too.
You know, stuff like that.
So like I'll do my morning writing session, and then when stuff comes throughout the day, I'll write it down too.
But I didn't know you did it in the morning. You were telling me that yesterday too.
Yeah.
You write in the morning.
Because it has to get done.
Yeah.
Like it has to get done every day.
Interesting. Do you find yourself listening to real like comics, like famous comics?
Seinfeld told me about the writing thing.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I love Seinfeld. I watch Seinfeld all the time.
Yeah. He said that I was watching an interview with him talking to somebody about comedy, and he says, your jokes are your product. If you're a business, your jokes are your product. He goes, you have to make your products better every day. And I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, all right, you got to make your products better. And so the first thing I do is like work on my products. And then with any extra time, I'll do like marketing, Instagram, video clips. Yeah. But I put the product first because it's so easy to get like practitioner around like making clips and DMing people and emailing bookers, and there's so much other stuff to do. But like none of that matters if you don't have a really great product.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're totally right. And I can totally agree with you. Man, I gotta write more. and I write, I feel like I write a lot because I have like pages of stuff that I wrote on my phone in my notes.
Yeah.
And and it's true, like 80% of it just sucks, and
well,
you
that
get like
comedy
one thing.
Bible helped me write a lot.
Yeah.
So they'll talk about like the joke structure, like the premise and the payoff, and like there's different types of payoffs. There's like an act out where you're like acting it out.
Yeah.
There's like a turn. There's a mix up. It says they have they put all this nomenclature, all these words around like analyzing what comics can do and how they take jokes in certain directions. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh wow. And then after you start to learn that, I read from the Audible book, I learned it. And now when I watch comedy, it's like, oh my goodness, that's what they're doing. Like these comics, they have this style, this like very similar, like Mark Nomad, right? You know him, right?
No.
Mark, he's a pretty dirty comic. He's really popular. He's like on Kill Tony a lot. He's friends with Rogan and all them.
I think
Mark
I know.
Norman?
Oh, Mark Norman.
Norman.
I was like,
Sorry.
Who's Norman? No, that's right. Norman. Yeah, I went to go see him live at Zany's. Yeah. Comedy. Yeah, I saw him live at Zany's. Yeah. He's so hilarious. Yeah.
That's my Mark Norman impression. You saw it first here.
So-
But he has. I heard him in an interview too, and I noticed after reading this book, he's got like one format. If this thing's like this thing, then why isn't that thing like that thing? And once you hear him say that, like this is my format, you can watch an hour and you're like, oh my god, that's his entire hour. That's
Yeah.
That's what he does. That's him.
Yeah.
Other people have a thing where it's like they just do impressions.
Yes.
80% of their
Yes.
act is impressions.
Yes.
You know, then you've got the guy I just saw with the puppets, Dunham, Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
He was here in Clarksville like a couple weeks ago. My wife got me tickets for my birthday, and I mean, he does 20 minutes of stand up, and then he goes into the puppet stand.
I don't know he did stand up. I thought it was just puppets.
No, he
puppets
starts his show like just talking. Yeah,
Okay.
like stand up, and then he goes into he calls them the little people in the boxes. You know.
Yeah.
So that was really, really interesting to watch. Now he's throwing down 90 to 100-minute sets.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So it's just not an hour. So he has no opener. It's just kind of him doing everything.
He has no opener.
Holy crap. That's a
Yeah.
lot of
And
fucking
he's selling
material.
stadiums, you know. He's the most ticketed comic like in the world.
I thought Gabriel Iglesias was, because he does like stadiums too.
Maybe.
Like all stadiums, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, how can you?
They all win awards.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the North American,
Yeah.
the South of the you know, they all have like, you know, you always see people, #1 comedy person won this contest this year. So yeah, I mean, I think the accolades are important, but yeah.
Yeah, I find myself listening to a lot of like big comics, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't like my biggest fear is like stealing a joke, right? Not self-consciously like taking a joke, right? Like I know a premise, we're gonna have same premises. It just happens all the time,
Yeah.
right? But my sometimes I get scared of like stealing jokes. But I listen to other comics. I try to of the videos at least to see what they're doing, like how do they set up the joke, what makes it funny, what like the way they move their arms or legs, or when they're acting something out. Because I try to learn from that, you know.
Yeah.
Because like I know I have friends that don't even do none of that stuff. Like I just kind of go off my head. I'm like I really just trying to learn, right? Because there's no real course or thing you can learn from doing comedy, right? It's kind of like your own. You know, you make your own comedy.
You got to figure out yourself.
Yeah, it's everybody has their own different type. Like when I first started, like most of my comedy was just like acting things out because that's just the way I'm naturally. And I noticed like I had to stop doing that because I wanted to just focus on what am I saying, right? Like what am I saying is funny, and if I'm saying it's funny, when I act it out, it's going to be even funnier.
Yeah,
right?
in that book, they consider the act outs as always like a topping to the joke.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's not like the core. It's core.
And I learned that from watching this guy named Paulo Francisco. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah.
He's like an old comic, but he got drugged out, whatever. And like most of his jokes, when I break it down, it's not really that funny, but it's the fact that he's acting out, making voices.
Well, it's you believe that's what he believes.
Yeah.
You know, I like to think of it like, so when you watch a movie, what are you doing? You're giving your emotional state over to the director.
Yeah.
That's what we do. It's weird to say it like that, but that's what you do when you watch the movie. You sit down, you're in a meditative state, you're not thinking, you're not like processing stuff like consciously. You just are watching the events unfold, and the byproduct of that is they're taking you on this emotional roller coaster. And your proclivity to the different directors is equal to their ability to move your emotions. So like I don't watch horror movies. I don't like that. I don't like when my emotions get like that.
Yeah.
I like comedy movies.
Yeah.
I also like science fiction movies because I like that like interesting side of things. And so you end up finding like different movies and different directors that you're basically, it's like an avatar where they have their little thing and they plug it into the animal, right? It's like that's what I imagine people are doing to the comedian or the speaker or the director. And so then it's like now I have this responsibility to the audience to bring them on this journey, and they're seeing the world through my eyes.
Yeah.
So like I can watch a black crackhead comic, I can watch a white trash comic, I can watch all these people as long as it's authentic. As long as they're really taking me on the journey. Like I don't need to be that person to connect with their stories. I just need to connect to who they authentically are, and then I can enjoy it.
Yeah. I can agree with that. It's definitely, you have to kind of catch the crowd once you go up there.
Yeah.
You know, there's something you have to say or do to kind of get them paying attention to you. and it's difficult. It really is difficult in a bar. I'll tell you that it's the most difficult thing to do in a bar. It's the worst fucking setup for open mic. But I mean, right now it's all we have in Nashville. I told you, like in the summertime, it opens. There's a whole bunch of more open mics, right? Like right now, it's just wintertime, kind of things die down. But hopefully, here the next spring or whatever summer, we get to catch a lot more open mics and less of bars, man. Because bars, they're rough, but I gotta do them because I got nothing else right now, you know?
Yeah. Yes. That's the whole strategy. Like right now, I'm trying to decide how to spend my time. So the conversation my wife and I had last night is like, all right, so strategy is defined as limited resources against unlimited opportunities.
Okay.
So I only have X amount of dollars, X amount of time, and there's an unlimited amount of things I could be doing, right? And so it's like, well, what is the strategy? And so the current like map that we have laid out that we're trying to decide between, and we will over the next 2 or 3 days, is like, do we start connecting with every club owner within 3 hours? Do we do that system where we like work on that every month? And another option was, do we just scout for comics that are slightly ahead of us with overlapping audiences and connect with them and try to go like tour with them and be their opener on tour? Because a lot of them tour, but they don't have openers for their tour because they're not popular enough to like afford to pay people to come along with them, but they are popular enough to be out there getting paid to do it and touring. So I was like, okay, cool, because you see all those people running through like zanies, right? 20,000 Instagram followers, but they're getting paid gigs, making $500 a show or whatever the rate is.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, those people are touring, you know, they're doing 2-3 week stints and they're doing it, but they don't have any dedicated opener following them. It's just the local openers.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, let's find people who are doing that and like, let's go offer them that. Like, hey, I will travel with you and it'll be fun. And like, I will, you know, cause it's lonely traveling alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, hey, let's go together.
Yeah.
And then as long as you don't suck, they're like, yeah. And even sometimes if you do suck, they're like, yeah.
Yeah, because they want to look better. Yeah. I've seen that too, which is kind of, I don't agree with that, you know? It's like, it just makes, a bad comic would fuck up the crowd. I've seen it too many times, you know? Like when it's like a really sucky comic or like somebody, and not so much, especially for like us open micers, like you're going to have bombing, right? You're going to bomb a lot because you're still figuring out. But I've seen where we'll have like, there was one time that I was at an open mic where it was like everybody was doing well and this one person went up but just had started. And like maybe a week ago, and they went up and just killed the crowd, and the whole mood just changed in the room.
So that's a skill to, and I
bring it back, I guess.
I had to learn that in public speaking. So like I, do the tech podcast, and before COVID, I got to travel all around the world, like talk to, thousands of people about the most boring crap you could imagine. Like tech leadership stuff. And so there would be times where like the person in the talk in front of me was just like, put them to sleep.
Yeah.
And so that forced me to research it, talk to other speakers, talk to other professional speakers, and figure out like, how do you change the dynamics of a room? And then going through that process helps a lot. So yeah, I haven't had to do it in comedy yet. And you have to be really careful because you can't rag on the other comics. That's like a big no-no.
Yeah.
You can't, but like you can find a way to build off of their previous set or just like address the awkward thing that was happening. Phone going off. Yeah. I
try not to make fun of nobody because I know how it is when you're first starting off. And that guy, I always think about karma, right? I always think if I make fun of this guy for messing up, and then let's say years on the road I don't make it, but he does, now I look a fucking fool. So I try not to make fun of anybody, but I try to, if I have the opportunity to use that, I will, right? Because obviously anybody else would, like the whole place is awkward about it, but I have one more question for you. You had a bit one time about being a Christian. Are you actually a Christian?
Oh yeah.
So I'm also Christian, and I wanted to ask you this. How do you feel about doing comedy? Like, where did that conversation go to when you told your family, like, hey, I want to do comedy, you're a Christian, and they know what comedy is. Like, everybody knows what comedy is. They always think about just dirty, right? They don't really know there's a clean side. But how'd your family feel about it when you first told them?
Well, I haven't actually, like, told my family.
So it's not something to know yet.
Well, like my dad, when I was down in Florida last week, he goes, "Hey, I saw your skit. It was pretty funny." 'Cause he saw the first clip I posted,
Mhm.
like the beard tip clip, and he's like, "It was pretty funny," and he called it a skit, and I was like, "Thanks." I actually was just talking with Michelle, my wife. I was like, we're gonna talk with my parents probably in the next like week or two, about like the fact that I am transitioning from, I'm not starting another business. Instead going into comedy.
Yeah.
They're not gonna care. They're great. They're
Yeah.
gonna be like, that's awesome. They're gonna support me. But the Christian thing is like, okay, it's hard.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. The way I do it is I'm trying to be so authentically me and where I'm at in my journey in faith, right? So I'm not
Yeah.
pretending to have more faith than I do. And I'm really open about everything too. Like I let people ask me any questions and all of that good stuff. But like I've got this joke and I was so nervous. I was so nervous about doing it. It's like, what's God gonna think? And so I thought about it and I prayed about it. And like after 2 weeks, it's like, I'm doing the joke. And I did it at Jokers with like, 70 people. And it crushed. And I was like, there's some sinners in Clarksville.
See, that's the same way I felt. Like I'm a Christian, and I know I say dirty things, but they say that tell God your plans, and he'll laugh, right? Like if it's not for you, it's not for you, right? And I tell God, if this is not for me, then it's not for me, right? But I really do enjoy doing comedy, and it's not something it's only two things I really enjoy in my life, and it's working because I've been a mechanic all my life, and I enjoy working on vehicles and working on stuff. And I enjoy doing comedy. And I said, God, please don't take this away from me. Like out of all things, like this is like something I really enjoy and I feel happy. Right. And one thing I told myself was I'll never do any jokes about religion or Christianity. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I have a joke about not making fun of like Jesus, but like just pointing out the facts of like how people say Jesus was Jewish,
Yeah.
and I make it funny. But every time I say a joke, it really doesn't hit. And I noticed I was like, maybe I'm not supposed to be saying that joke. Maybe I won't say it because maybe God's like, hey, man. Stay out of my business, all right? Do yours, not do me. But that's just the way I feel,
I see it as like bringing away. I think all right, so like I'm gonna explain the joke, so it's not gonna be funny, but I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
All right, so this actually happened to me, so that's why I like turned it into the joke. So we were doing this prayer challenge at church, right? Where they're like, read the Bible. I'd never read the Bible. I just had gone to church my whole life, right? I was reading the Bible. And there was this story about like Thomas, and he has doubt. And I was like, oh, he's like my spirit animal. Like I'm connected to that, right?
Yeah.
He's like, and to remove all doubt, he took his fingers and put them through the holes in Jesus's hand, and then he believed. And there was a bad thought in the back of my mind. I was just like, Thomas fingered Jesus. And like, I was like, I want to say that so bad on stage.
Oh my God, that's funny. I like it.
Yeah, and I did. And like everybody loved it. And then I just like bounced out of the joke real quick because I got the laugh. I didn't have anything extra. I was like, if the premise works, it works.
Yeah.
And it did. And it's actually like, I've never analyzed a joke so much over this joke. But like I looked it up because I was trying to write it differently. I contacted an English teacher. There's no other verb to describe it. Like that's the verb. The verb is if you were to take your finger and put it through a hole, you fingered something. That's grammatically. And I was like, you know what? If God is funny enough to know that I would, if God is real and all the Christianity is, then he knows me and he knows my entire.
And he made us his image, so it's got to be funny,
It's got to be funny, and he knew it would translate that way. It's like a key story in the Bible about people with faith and doubt, and I was like, he knew it would translate to finger. That's like the only way.
Put it in my finger.
Yeah, it's like, come on, that's comedy.
Oh my God, this is good. But that was such a good joke. I think you should definitely say it again.
Yeah,
that'll hit again. When was the last time you said that? Was it at Jokers?
Yeah, it was at Jokers.
You need to say that again. Yeah. I really enjoyed that joke. That was good.
But like if you walk up to a Christian, like a pastor, and you just try to like get approval on the punchline, he's gonna say
no, of course not. I
had a joke where the punchline's Thomas fingered Jesus. Can I do that? No.
Yeah. No, don't talk about Christianity.
If it's this real situation of like I was reading and that's what popped up in the back of my head, and I'm sorry, but I'm here to share.
Yeah.
Like what's going on in my life. And so I loved it. Like
I enjoy comedy, all types, man, and that was really good. I really enjoyed that. But man, thanks for coming out. I really enjoyed the conversation with you, man, and I hope to see you more around. I hope we get to see each other in Nashville, and we can try to network with these people, man. See if we can, bring Clarksville down there, you.